All right, Khan, Shalom, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, to the Torah, Yash, Allah, giving the course, Allah, the glory and praise unto the Most High God, Yahweh, in the name of some God, saying, Yahweh Shah, this brother, Yash, Allah, coming back, y'all, yet another video through the Spirit, by Yahweh, Bahashimama, Shalom, like Yahweh Shah. All right, Shalom, Shalom. All right, so I'm going to get straight into this. All right, I'm going to get straight into this. We're going into Isaiah, 3rd chapter, and basically the madness of the end of the world. All right, and so Isaiah 3 goes into a lot of prophecy, not necessarily in its original context going into the end times or eschatology or whatever the case may be, but they are prophecies that did occur to Israel. All right, and we know that let's go to the book of Ecclesiastes. All right, these prophecies, certain prophecies in the scriptures, they keep happening over and over and over again. It's not just one time and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you have what's called dual prophecy, right? Which occurs, multiple times. Like, for example, Deuteronomy chapter 28, the curses. The curses was reoccurring, right? It didn't just happen just one time and then that's it, right? Um, an example of that is Deuteronomy chapter 28, when you go to the curse where it talks about how our people would have to eat our own sons and daughters. We see that recorded in the book of Lamentations, that our people had to eat their own sons and daughters because that's a curse in Deuteronomy. That happened during slavery, right, in the 1800s. That happened during the time of 70 AD when we were running from the persecution of King Titus Vespasian, who was the emperor or a ruler over the Roman Empire in 70 AD during the so-called Roman Jewish Wars. We had to actually eat our own sons and daughters because of the famine. All right, so certain prophecies in the Old Testament, or Slakia, not even the Old Testament, in the New Testament as well, can be reoccurring. So let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter Slakia. I'm gonna go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Actually, I'll go to this one. All right, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 15. That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and God required that which is past. So the Most High requires that which is past. All right, it's a requirement. The Most High requires that which is past. So if we see that when we go to Isaiah chapter 3, this could be applied to even now. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 3, verse 1. For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away from Jerusalem and from Judah, meaning all Israel, right? The state and the staff, the whole stay of bread, and the whole stay of water, right? So we see here that the Most High is going to take away the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. That's talking about all of our resources, the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. And that's what the Most High is going to do to America. That's what the Most High is going to do to Israel that's unrighteous in America. All right. That's what the Lord is going to do to Israel again. He's going to take the whole stay of bread and he's going to take the whole stay of water. So what does that mean? That means that there's going to be a famine. We understand that. There's plenty of precepts that validate that there's going to be a famine in the land. All right, let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 24. There's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, and verse number 7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. So the Lord said that there's going to be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. And so, which means that, there's going to be a famine that's going to come to America. We understand that. It's going to be a famine that is going to come to the nation of Israel. All right. Where we're not going to be able to have the resources that we have right now. We're not going to have that bread. We're not going to have that water because the Lord is going to take it away because of our iniquities, because of our sins. We get another precept, right? It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14 and verse number 11. So Jeremiah chapter 14, verse number 11, and it reads, Slaki. Then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people, for their good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offering and an oblation, I will not accept them, but I'll consume them by the sword and by the famine and by the pestilence. So the Most High is going to use those three things to devour Israel yet again. The sword, and what's the modern day sword? The modern day sword would have to be what? the nukes. It's like it could be the nukes, it could be the guns, of course. It could be grenades, it could be grenade launchers. Basically, the weapons that people use nowadays is a modern day sword. All right, nobody's walking around with a 12-inch sword, a foot long sword, girded at their side. Nobody's doing that. In fact, they're walking around with what? A gun. All right, maybe a pistol, whatever, a handgun. Maybe certain people walk around with AR-15s in their own hands. So we see that the Lord is going to consume Israel by the sword and by the famine. So again, the Most High can use famine to destroy a lot of people. Look at this precept real quick. All right, it's the book of Second Kings, Slaki, 2 Samuel chapter 24. This is 2 Samuel chapter 24, verse let's see here. All right. 2 Samuel chapter 24 and verse number 13. It says, So Gad came to David and told him and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come unto thee in thy land? 7 years of famine. You see that? This is one of the punishments, or basically the alternatives, right? Basically, the Most High was like, look, David, you sinned, you went off. So choose out of one of these three, which one I should plague Israel with. And one of the plagues was what? 7 years of famine. Because 7 years of famine, that'll wipe out a lot of people. A lot of people, because they're not able to get, as much food as they can, or they're not able to eat as much as they would normally be eating. So therefore they're going to be upset about that, because people don't like change. Imagine you going from eating 3 meals a day to just 1 meal a day. You're not going to like that. Your body is going to be like, hey, what the hell is going on? Because it's looking for those two other meals. Our bodies are accustomed to, whatever we're doing, on an ordinary basis. Like people, there's something called the, I believe the sciatic or something like that, rhythm, all right, of your basically talking about your sleep patterns. Okay. Usually when it comes around a certain time, you start getting sleepy. That's natural. Certain times you wake up around the same time that you usually wake up. That's natural. That's just your sleep patterns. So your body is built to adapt to certain situations. Now, of course, even though our body is built to adapt to situations, our people, right? When that famine hits, our people, and nobody really is going to like it. Nobody's going to like it. Nobody's going to enjoy Jacob's trouble, save if you're crazy, you got a million demons on you. We know that when you go to the book of Second Ezra, certain people will enjoy Jacob's trouble, because Esau has been waiting for his opportunity, right, to just go like a madman, right? I'm gonna get that precept. This is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 16, and verse number 70, right? I'm sorry, verse 68. It says, For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. So yeah, they're going to try to feed us with things, with unclean foods, essentially. They're going to try to feed us with unclean things. Now, this is the time of Jacob's trouble, which will be the fifth seal. Okay, when that fifth seal opens up to its full extent, when you go to Revelation chapter 6, get that precept real quick, just for edification. Revelation chapter 6. This is Revelation chapter 6 and verse 9. And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. So we see here that what? It's lucky. It says, the souls of them that were slain for the word of God and for the testimony which they held. So when that fifth seal opens up, we know that this is Jacob's trouble, because it's a persecution of the saints. When you go to Revelation chapter 12 and verse 17, it also talks about that as well. It says, And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahweh Shah. So we see here that the dragon, and remember, the dragon is talking about Satan, right? It's talking about Satan, but we know that the dragon gave his power and his seat and authority to the beast. We go to Revelation chapter 13, and verse number 2, it says, "And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of the bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority." So this dragon would be who? Satan, right? It would be Satan. Satan gave his power and his authority to who? Esau. So we know that Esau is acting as basically a physical counterpart of Satan. Since Satan is not a physical man, all right, he's not a physical man. Satan uses men to fulfill his will upon the earth, just like the Most High. The Most High has a chosen people. Most High's chosen people are the righteous, which would be what? The Israelites. Let me get that precept real quick. It's the Book of Wisdom of Solomon. All right, this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10. All right, this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10, and verse number 9. It says, "But wisdom delivered from pain those that attended upon her. When the righteous fled," right? And Khan, Shalom, Shalom. All praise to the Most High God, mighty brother. And Khan, it says, "When the righteous fled." So who's the righteous? The righteous is talking about Jacob. All right, in this context, it says, "When the righteous fled from his brother's wrath, she guided him in right paths, showed him the kingdom of God, and gave him knowledge of holy things, made him rich in his travails, and multiplied the fruit of his labors." So the righteous is Israel. All right, the righteous is Israel. So the Most High, he chose us as a nation of people to fulfill his will upon the earth, being the righteous. So like manner, Satan, he has essentially, it's not written, like this, but Satan essentially has the chosen people that he's dealing with on the highest level, which is talking about Esau. You go to the book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24, the classic, right? Actually, I'm gonna get this precept first. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 109, and verse number 6. Now, on the spiritual level, on this original context, hey, this is talking about Judas, all right? Judas Iscariot, who betrayed Yahweh Shah. But you can also apply this precept to Esau when you look at it in the spirit. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 109, verse 6. "Set thou a wicked man over him." Who's that wicked man that's over Esau? Will be Satan. It says what? "And let Satan stand at his right hand." Right? So it says, "Let Satan stand at his right hand." See, Yahweh Shah and the Most High and the righteous angels stand at our hand. Or it's like we stand at their hand. But Satan is standing at Esau's right hand, man. Esau is like the Satan's right hand man. That's why when you go to the book of Revelation, and that's why Esau is called a serpent, just like his father, the devil, man. When you go to the book of, actually, I'm gonna get this precept too, in the book of John, chapter 8. Book of John, chapter 8, verse number 44. It says, "Ye are of the father, the devil." Now we know that in this original context, Yahweh Shah is talking to the Pharisees and the scribes. "You are of your father, the devil," right? But you can apply this to who? To Esau as well, because his father's the devil, right? And it says, "What in the lust of your father ye will do? He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it." Esau is the father of lies. Esau, he's a murderer. You understand? He does all these certain things. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16. "Lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, for one morsel meat sold his birthright." So we know that Esau is personified or seen rather as the wicked in the scriptures. So when we go back to this, right? When we go back to this, in the book of right, Salaki. Look at this. Let's go back to Isaiah chapter 3, verse 1. Go back to Isaiah chapter 3, verse 1 real quick. Right. It says, "For behold, the Lord of hosts, doth take away his from Jerusalem and from Judah the state and the staff and the whole state of bread and the whole state of water." Now, how's the Most High going to do that? He can do that by various things. We know that there's a whole ass drought in California. We know that there's droughts in the Midwest. We know that the water, Esau, he's tempering with the water all over the United States. We know that the Most High is taking away food from the earth as well. Right? He's shutting down the stores. He's burning up the processing plants. You know what I'm saying? The food is getting faker by the minute. So we know that the Most High is taking away the whole state of bread and the whole state of water. All right. So like I know I want to finish that out in Second Ezra. Right. Let's go to Second Ezra chapter 16, just to prove that they're going to be like wild men. They're going to be like madmen. Right. These Edomites. Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse number 69. And they that consent unto them shall be had in Jerusalem, and in reproach and trodden underfoot. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. Right? And the brother said, the water in Atlanta is tainted with damn poison, you know? And polio, hey, that's madness, man. That's madness. Hey, somebody has said that Atlanta is really a trap, you know? It's really a trap, man. You know, like how when you go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 42 and verse number 22, we know that they're all snared in holes, right? Let's go to Isaiah chapter 42. In verse number 22, it says, "But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes." So, hey, somebody has said through the spirit that Atlanta is like a trap because, you know, they're encouraging Judah, you know what I'm saying, just to take over Atlanta and go to Atlanta. Hey, Atlanta, that's where it's at. This and the third. Hey, you got, so-called black-owned businesses over there. And why is Esau always pointing towards Atlanta? There's something about that. You know what I'm saying? And there's more Jakes and Eves that live in Atlanta than Edomites. So, but there's a reason for that. And then now you see that they poison the water, man. So that's the Most High, on a spiritual level, taking away the whole state of staff and the whole state of bread and the whole state of water, you know, taking it away because if the water is poison, you can't drink it. And the water is poison in California. Hey, the water is poison over here. You take a shower, you come out, you look like you Edomite because it's there's so much white stuff on it, chromium 6 as they call it. It's tainted. And this water is tainted. There's no fresh water. There's no fresh food, and all the fruits and the vegetables are GMO'd, and literally grown in a laboratory. You can't even get anything fresh anymore down there. Right, but I'm gonna keep going in Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse number 70. For there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So there's going to be a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. I'm gonna look up that word means insurrection, right? So I know you can't see the screen, but insurrection, it says on the Google, a violent uprising against an authority or government, rebellion, revolt, uprising, unity, revolution, insurgents. So that's the word. That's what the word means right there. Insurrection. So there's going to be a great uprising against those that fear the Lord. Because really, we should be on top. Really, we should be the government, man. If you got ears to hear, we are it's like we are the government. We're the ones that execute judgment in the gate. Let me get that precept. It's the book of Amos, chapter 5 and verse 10, right? Let's go to Amos, chapter 5 and verse number 10, and it reads, "They hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly." So they see you speaking uprightly. They see you executing judgment in the gate, right? You rebuking in the gate, you executing judgment. And guess what? People don't like that. And they're going to kill us for that. Hey, that's John chapter 16, verse 1 on down. The time cometh that whosoever killeth you thinketh that they do God's service. People really in their vain minds going to think that they're doing something right by killing you. So, because they see you trying to execute judgment in the gate, but they see that judgment or that rebuke that you're trying to give is the wrong rebuke. It's not right. By you saying that people shouldn't be homosexual, they don't believe that's right. But the Most High said it's right though. So we had that battle between the Most High, who's right, the Most High, or these other nations, right? Or somebody's own vain mind. This is Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse number 71. They shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So we see that Esau is going to be like mad men, sparing none, still spoiling and destroying and spoiling those that fear the Lord. So if we fear the Lord, you know what I'm saying? Those of us that fear the Lord, a certain number of us will have to actually be martyrs for Yahweh and actually die in the name of the Lord. But when we go back to this in Isaiah chapter 3, in verse 1, we see that the Most High is going to take away the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water. Let me keep reading. Isaiah 3 and 2. The mighty man and the man of war, the judge and the prophet and the prudent and the ancient. So it's going to go to list all the people that's going to be affected by this prophecy. Verse 3. The captain of 50 and the holy and the honorable men and the counselor and the cunning artificer, right? The craftsman, right? And the eloquent orator. Really goes into skillful speech, but really goes into an enchanter, right? And now give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. So literally in verse 2 and 3, it names the certain types of people as going to be affected by these prophecies. And the mighty man, the man of war, the judge and the prophet, the prudent, the ancient, these men and all these men have different types of high level statuses. Even them are going to be affected by these prophecies. For example, you got these NFL players. They have 20 million houses. They have millions of dollars. They're living good. All right, they're living luxuries. NFL players, you have NBA players. They're living good. Even FIFA, right? Soccer. These world, you know, basically these world famous people, even celebrities, right? In the music industry or media industry, whatever, they live good too in lavishly. They are honorable men in this society. They are honorable men and women. You know what I'm saying? They have a high status in this society. Nevertheless, they're still going to be affected by these prophecies. Okay, nobody's going to escape from that, except you under the protection of the Almighty. Go to the book of Psalms chapter 91. This book of Psalms chapter 91 verse 1. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. So if you abide under the shadow of the Almighty, it's not going to hurt you. Literally, it's not going to hurt you, right? Nothing's going to hurt you if you abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Hey, Khan, that's right. That's right. You know, Khan, it's a deep chapter, man. And that whole chapter's mean, right? And nothing and by any means shall hurt you, right? Where's this precept at? Salakia. Let me find this precept, right? Khan, Salakia. But yeah, Khan. I'm looking right at it. That's madness. God, hey, all praise to the Most High. Hey, this is the book of Luke, chapter 10, verse 19. Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions. So the Most High said he's going to give power. Now he's really talking to apostles, right? He's talking to the apostles. He's saying, I'm going to give you power to tread on serpents and scorpions. Now, is that literal? Is that literal? That you are literally going to have power over serpents and scorpions. So you kind of see a rattlesnake come up to you, and the Lord said, and you call upon the name of the Lord, and all of a sudden that serpent just explodes. You say, yes, I got power over serpents. And then you see a scorpion, and you say, hey, scorpion, I rebuke thee in the name of Yahweh and Yahweh. And all of a sudden that scorpion just turns away and starts attacking the Edomite. Hey, even though, hey, that'll be mighty, but the thing is, it's not literal, right? It's not literal. The serpents and the scorpions is talking about, hey, these demons, right? You have power over demons. You have power over spirits, right? Because I'm going to go to verse 17. It says, in the 70, return again with joy, saying, Lord, even the devils are subject unto us through thy name. Because, we always talk about 12, but you also have that 70, right? The 70 that followed Yahweh Shah. I'm going to start at verse 1. It says, after these things, the Lord appointed other 70 also, and sent them two and two before his face into every city and place whether he himself would come. So you also had the Lord, he sent out 70 people, two by two, right? Going in twos. And one over here, one over there. And even now, you might even have certain people they started a camp with just 2 men. You know, hey, I know that was the case for W5 Bay Area. You know, it's like two brothers out there. Hey, one is a reader, one is a teacher. Hey, that's mighty. That's mighty through the Spirit. That's how the Lord operated back in the ancient world. He sent them by two. You know, but I'm gonna skip down to verse 19. It says, "Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions." Right? It says, and over all the power of the enemy. So Christians, let's stop right there. If you don't have any enemies, it says, wait, Salaki. So if you don't have any enemies, then why is the Lord saying, I'm gonna give you all Salaki over all the power of the enemy? If you gotta love your enemies. See, so the things is not lining up. You know what I'm saying? Things is not lining up. That's just a sidebar, right? It says, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. So the Lord said, nothing shall by any means hurt you. Why? Because you're under the shadow of the Almighty. Why? Because I chose you. You know, it says, notwithstanding in this rejoice not that the spirits are subject unto you, but rather rejoice because your names are written in heaven. Most High willing, our names are also written in heaven as well. But let's go back to this. Actually, I'm gonna get this precept. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna get this precept as well. It's the book of Jeremiah, right? The book of Jeremiah, chapter Salakia. Find this precept real quick. It's been a while since I read this precept, but oh yeah, Khan. This is the book of all praises, Jeremiah chapter 15, verse 11, and it reads, "The Lord said, verily it shall be well with thy remnant." So it's going to be a remnant, all right. It's going to be a remnant that comes back to the Most High. It says, "Verily I will cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil, and in the time of affliction." So the Lord said, in the time of affliction, I'm gonna have the enemy to treat you well in the time of evil. Right? I'm gonna have the enemy to treat you well. Hey, you might even have that happen during Jacob's trouble. See, if you abide in the shadow of the Almighty and put the Most High to your trust, Isaiah 26 verse 3, the Lord said, "Thou will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusted in thee." So we put our trust in the Most High God. The Lord said, "Look, I'm gonna cause the enemy to entreat thee well in the time of evil." So you might even have a place to stay. You might even have some food and water and some refuge in those days, in those evil times, because you have made the Most High your refuge. Right? Let's go to Proverbs chapter 16. Right? It's a book of Proverbs chapter 16 verse 7. "When a man's ways please the Lord, he maketh even his enemies to be at peace with him." And we know who's our enemy. Esau, the other nations. But even when a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace. He will even make Esau to be at peace with you and give you certain things. Right? We know that every good gift comes from the Most High. We know that if Edomite might give you a few I don't know, Edomite might even give you a new car. Edomite might give you certain things, and you take that. And you say, "Oh, praise to the Most High," right? You take it, you know what I'm saying? You take it and you like, "Hey, all praise to the Most High." Now you don't let that gift kind of get to your mind, and now you have a love for this Edomite. Like, you take it and you understand that the Most High He gave it to you, right? I'm gonna get this precept in the book of James, because during the times of evil, when the Lord takes away the whole stay of bread and the whole stay of water, we all always know that there's always going to be a remnant that the Most High is looking out for. Because according to the book of Psalms, chapter 37, verse 25, right? I'm gonna get that real quick before I get that, but get that in James. This is Psalm chapter 37, verse 25. "I have been young and now I'm old, yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging bread." So David, rather, he's been old. It's like he's been young and now he's old, but he never has seen the righteous forsaken nor his seed begging bread. He has never seen the righteous begging for bread. The Lord is always going to look out for his anointed. The Lord is always going to look out for his righteous, his people, his chosen, right? It's a book of James chapter 1 And verse number 17. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. So, according to the scriptures, every good gift coming down from the Most High, right? So I'm gonna get this precept in Sirach chapter 11, verse 17. We know that every good gift comes from the Most High. So whatever you attain and whatever you get, that's from the Most High God, man. And it's a gift, hey, that's from the Most High, right? This is the book of Sirach chapter 11 and verse number 17. The gift of the Lord remaineth with the godly, and his favor bringeth prosperity forever. So the gift of the Lord remaineth with the godly. The Most High is going to give you gifts, and so you might have the Most High give you a gift during the time of that Jacob's trouble, right? Because you made the Most High your refuge and trusted in the Most High. I'm gonna get this in the book of First Kings, right? This is the book of First Kings, chapter 17 and verse number 4. And it shall be that thou shalt drink of the brook, and I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. Right? So he went and did according unto the word of the Lord, for he went and dwelt by the brook, the brook Cherith, that is by before Jordan. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, and he drank of the brook. Right? And it came to pass after a while that the brook dried up because there had been no rain in the land. So literally, the Lord had ravens to come and bring Elijah bread in the morning, bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening. Literally, the Lord is feeding Elijah with ravens, and that can happen to the elect as well, and that's going to happen to the elect. The Most High looking out for, just depending on your lot, right? Just depending on your lot, but the Most High is never going to forsake His righteous, right? He's never going to forsake His anointed, you know. But I'm gonna go back to this in Isaiah chapter 3. So that's even an example of that the Most High looking out for his prophets, for his anointed, right? Let's look at Isaiah chapter 3 and verse number 4. And I'll give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. So you even see that when you go down to verse 12, it says, as for my people, children are their oppressors. So you might even have on a certain level children running households, right? Children running households and trying to tell the parents what to do, this and that third, and the parents not putting their foot down, this and the third. The Lord talks about that, right? The Lord actually prophesies about that. When you go back up to verse 4, though, it says, and I'll give children to be their princes, and babes shall rule over them. And it is an account about how on a physical, on a spiritual level, you have men that's ruling over our people who have the mind of a babe and who cannot discern from right and evil, between good and evil, therefore being a babe, right? It's like, I'm gonna get the precept real quick. It's a book of First King. It's like the First Corinthians. Let's get First Corinthians chapter 14 and verse number 20. All right, First Chronicles chapter 14 verse 20. Brethren, be not children in understanding. So certain people, they're children in understanding. They have no understanding of the scriptures. They only understand a little bit, and yet they're ruler over our people Israel. It's a shame, man, right? If you had to be ruler over the people Israel, over the Lord's people, you had to be somebody, right? I'm gonna get that in the book of Deuteronomy, right? If you wanted to be king over Israel, there's a lot of stuff that you had to do, right? You couldn't just inherit the throne and then that's it, right? And then you just sitting down on your ass all day, right? You just telling people what to do, right? That's not how the Lord gets down when it comes to people ruling over his people, right? Or kings, essentially. Salaki, I'm trying to find this law. Salaki. This is the book of Deuteronomy, right? Chapter 17 and verse number 14. It says, when thou art come unto the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, right? And shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Right? So this is going into the law of the kings. You understand? We couldn't have a king over us that was not of our people. We keep going. I'm skip down to verse 18. And it shall be when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests, the Levites. So the king actually had to write a physical copy of the law. All right. He had to copy the law down, make sure that he knew it, to make sure that he knew the law. Because the king, as a king, you had to know the law. Let me get this precept in the book of Second Samuel, right? About David's wisdom. David was like an angel, all right? That's how much wisdom he had, man. He was like an angel, right? It's the book of Second Samuel, chapter 14, and verse number 19, it says, and the king said, is not the hand of Joab with thee in all this? And the woman answered and said, as thy soul liveth, my lord the king, none can turn to the right hand or to the left from aught that my lord the king hath spoken. For thy servant Joab, he bade me and put all these words in the mouth of thine handmaid. To fetch about this form of speech hath thy servant Joab done this thing. And my Lord is wise according to the wisdom of an angel of God to know all things that are in the earth. So literally, you had this woman that came up to the king. Now, when you read this account, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Joab has sent this woman. And David, just by a few questions and analyzing the whole thing, he understood that, okay, look, this is Joab. Did not Joab send you? Right? I know that he sent you. Stop playing with me. And that's how David kind of was talking. And this woman said, look, my Lord is wise, talking about David, according to the wisdom of an angel of God, to know all things that are in the earth. So David, we know that he was a good king. Okay, he was a very good king over Israel. But was he wasn't he wasn't dumb and he wasn't a child in understanding. He knew wisdom. He had wisdom. He knew how to make certain decisions and make them quick, man. Right? He knew how to execute judgment. He knew all this. He knew the law, right? Therefore, he was a good ruler over his people. He also was doing this too. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 23 and verse number 1, right? It says, now these be the last words of David. David, the son of Jesse, said, and the man who was raised up on high, that anointed of the God of Jacob, and the sweet psalmist of Israel said, the Spirit of the Lord spake by me, and his word was in my tongue. The God of Israel said, the rock of Israel spake to me. He that ruleth over men must be just, ruling in the fear of God. So David, as a wise man, said, look, if you want to rule over the people of Israel, right, you have to be just. You have to rule in the fear of the Most High, you know? And that is also like, for example, when you go to the book of Colossians, right? Yeah, Khan. That's right. Like how the brother said, he said, he had excellent discernment. Exactly. He had excellent discernment, man. You know, and that's something that's hard to attain. That's something that's, you can only attain through much experience. Right. I'm gonna get this precept as well on that. It's the book of Sirach. And also through the spirit of the Most High. But you can discern over time about certain things. You can discern, okay, if you know somebody well, you can discern how they're feeling just off their body language. You can discern that because you have experience with this person, you know. So David had a lot of experience. He been through a lot of things. Therefore, he can also declare wisdom on that type of level. It's the book of Sirach, chapter 34 and verse 9. In fact, David, he knew Joab. You know what I'm saying? He knew Joab, and he knew how shiesty Joab could be, right? So he also could perceive through the spirit of the Most High. Okay, look, this is Joab, right? And I got a precept on that too. Looks like I'm gonna get this precept first. It's Sirach chapter 34, verse 9. A man that have traveled, it's like it. Yeah, and man that have traveled knoweth many things. And David, he traveled too, because in the book of First Kings chapter 2, verse 1 on down, he said, I go the way of all the earth. Right? He said, I go the way of all the earth. It's the book of First Kings chapter 2. David, he didn't just stay in Jerusalem all his life. He also reigned in Hebron, and he also went to the Philistines as well. David was actually moving around. It's the book of First Kings chapter 2 and verse 1. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth. Be strong therefore, and show thyself a man. So David, he went through the way of all the earth as well, right? So he had to show himself a man, and he learned through much wisdom, or through much traveling wisdom, right? It says what? So I write to the 34 verse 9. A man that have travailed, it's like traveled, knoweth many things, and he that had much experience will declare wisdom. So if you have much experience, you're going to declare wisdom, right? And David, he had much experience. Let me get this precept too on that. This is the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 11, because Joab, he knew David. He knew David too, because if you know somebody well, you can already tell what they're going to say about certain things and how they might react to certain things, right? I'm gonna get the precept on that. This is 2 Samuel chapter 11 and verse number 18. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise, and he say unto thee, wherefore approach ye so nigh unto the city when ye did fight? Know ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, which is actually Jerubbaal, who is actually Gideon, right? When you read that in the book of Judges, I believe the the ninth chapter, right? But it says what? Did not a woman cast a piece of a millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Thebez? Why went ye nigh the wall? Slaki. Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So basically Joab is saying, look, he's telling the messenger, all right, look, tell everything what happened. Tell David about everything that happened, right? But if David says this to you, and when you read this, Joab is getting very, very specific about what David might say, right? How David might react to the certain situation that they're in, right? So that's how you know that Joab, he knew David. He knew how he might react to certain things, and he knew how David might respond to certain things. You know what I'm saying? So that just goes to show you that look, David, through that much experience, he will declare wisdom. And he was like, look, I already know who this is, Joab, man. But come on, when you go back to that, Salakia, the point is, the point is through the Spirit that if you want to be a ruler over your people, whether that be an officer, on even when we come to this truth and we're a shepherd, right, and you teach the fold, you're a ruler over your people, man. So if we want to be ruler over our people, a teacher, remember a teacher, another word for teacher is master, right? So if we want to be a master over our people, and the Lord gives us that lot as well. But if we want to be a shepherd and a master over our people, we have to be wise. We have to rule in the fear of the Most High, and we have to actually understand what the hell is going on. You know what I'm saying? We can't be dumb and docile and with our damn thumb in our mouth, and just not be able to actually execute judgment. That's why we have to know the law. That's why we not have to know the Sirach. That's why I know Proverbs, etc., etc. How would Yahweh deal with this? And that's why we have to increase in that wisdom so that we can tell our people what is going on and how to do certain things. People might come up to you for counsel, whether in the world or in the truth. We have to know how to respond to them, right? But the brother pulled a precept, so I write to the 10 verse 1, right? I'm gonna pull it real quick. So I write to the 10 verse 1, it's a good precept. A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. Exactly. So a wise man, it's like a wise judge, is going to instruct his people. All right. He's not going to be just sitting around not doing nothing. He's not going to just be sitting around just with his thumb in his mouth and playing Call of Duty all day, right? He's going to instruct his people. He's going to tell his people what to do, how to do it, etc., right? Verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. An unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. Exactly. And that's also going to in verse 2, the head, hey, you're good as your head, because if the head is sick, the whole body is sick. That's even in the scriptures. But if the head is whole, the whole body is whole, right? So whoever is leading that group, and guess what? It really determines on them, right? It really determines on that leader, right? The status of that body, the status of that group, it relies on the leader, right? And in verse 3 it says, and the unwise king destroyeth his people, but through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited. The power of the earth is in the hand of the Lord, and in due time he will set over it one that is profitable. And somebody that is profitable is not ruling it right now. We know that Esau is ruling the earth right now, right? And he's not profitable at all. The Lord said, when the righteous are in authority, the people would rejoice. The whole earth is in singing. That's Isaiah 14 and 7. The whole earth is in singing. The animals are rejoicing and it's at rest. A people's at rest finally, because the righteous are in authority. The righteous are executing the judgment. The righteous are actually, getting that peace, because there's not going to be any peace to the wicked. The wicked is ruling right now. That's why there's no peace, man. But Khan, we go back to this in Isaiah. But yeah, Khan, that's a good precept. Let me get one more precept on that. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6, right? It's a book of Slakia. I'm gonna get two more precepts on that. This is a book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8, and verse number 13. It says, actually, I'm gonna start verse 12. It says, when I hold my tongue, they shall bide my leisure. And when I speak, they shall give good ear unto me. If I talk much, they shall lay their hands upon their mouth. So when you have wisdom, this is what's going to happen. When you when you when you speak, people are going to give good ear unto you. When you have wisdom, when somebody knows you have wisdom and you're talking, they're going to shut up. They're not going to be talking over you. They're not going to be saying, "Hey, shut up." They're not. They're going to respect you if they understand that you have wisdom. Now we know that wisdom is rejected out of a fool's mouth. For it shall not be spoken of him in due time. You know what I'm saying? Roughly paraphrasing. That's in the book of Sirach. So we know that if people perceive you as a fool and you start speaking wisely, they're going to be like, see, that's just him. You know what I'm saying? Well, they're going to take it as a foolish thing when it comes out of your mouth. When it comes out of the mouth of somebody that has a PhD, however, they're going to esteem it to the clouds. But you guys are saying the same exact thing, though. So it's also about how people perceive you. But at the same time, if you have wisdom, when people know that you have wisdom, hey, they're going to shut up, man. When people actually understand the wisdom that's coming out your mouth and it's of the Most High God, guess what? They're going to give good ear unto you and listen, right? It says, if I talk much, they shall lay their hands upon their mouth. Moreover, by the means of her, I shall obtain immortality. So by the means of what? By the means of wisdom, you're going to obtain immortality. Because what? The fear of the Lord, right? It's like, I'm going to get a precept on that. It's a book of Sirach, chapter 1. This is a book of Sirach, chapter 1, and verse number 27. It says, for the fear of the Lord, right, is wisdom and instruction, and faith and meekness are his delight. So the fear of the Lord is wisdom. Literally, the fear of the Lord is wisdom. Job chapter 28, verse 28. Fear of the Lord, that is wisdom. And depart from evil is understanding. So you have wisdom when you would keep the commandments. Hey, this is Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. All right. It's Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6. And it reads, keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations. which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So literally, the law, statutes, commandments, that's the thing that makes you wise. You know, the law, statutes, commandments. So when you go back to this in verse 13, it says, moreover, by the means of her, I shall obtain immortality. By the means of wisdom, you're going to attain immortality because wisdom teaches you. Wisdom is a fear of the Lord. Therefore, you will be keeping the commandments, if that makes sense. By you keeping the commandments, that's how you enter into life. That's Matthew chapter 19, verse 16. And it reads, and leave behind me an everlasting memorial to them that come after me. I shall set, here's a point, verse 14. I shall set the people in order, and the nations shall be subject unto me. Horrible tyrants shall be afraid when they do but hear of me. I shall be found good among the multitude and valiant in war. All right. So it says that people, Slakia, that you when you have wisdom, you're going to set the people in order. And that's what we want to do. We want to set the people in order. We want to set our people in order. We want to set ourselves in order. That's why when you go to the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 14, verse 14, hey, it's a good precept, man. It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 14, verse 14. It says, I'm sorry, verse 13. Now, therefore, set thine house in order. So we want to set our house in order. Both our physical house right here. You have a physical household. You want to set that in order. We want to set our spirits in order, our body in subjection, pursuant to the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 27. It says what? Set thine house in order and reprove thy people. Hey, even when you go to the book of 2 Samuel, Ahithophel was able to set his house in order. And Ahithophel wasn't the most righteous man. All right. And I say that with sarcasm. All right. He wasn't the most wisest, or he wasn't the most righteous man, but he did have wisdom. All right. On the left hand side, when you go to 2 Samuel chapter 15 and verse number right. Oh, Salaki. Let me see here. Actually, hold on. It might be if it feels said go in, right? Oh yeah, Khan Salaki. Yeah, Khan. It's 2nd Samuel chapter 17 verse 22. Then David arose and all the people that were with him, and they passed over Jordan by the morning light. There lacked not one of them that was not gone over Jordan. Khan, all praises. In verse 23. And when Ahithophel saw that his counsel was not followed, he saddled his ass and arose and get him home to his house, to his city, and put his household in order, and hanged himself, and died and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. So Ahithophel, he went home to his house and to his city, and put his house in order. So before he killed himself, he put his house in order. He ordered his house. You know what I'm saying? He got it in order. Even though he wasn't in order, but he got his household in order through the Spirit of the Most High and put his household in order, right? And hanged himself and died and was buried in the sepulchre of his father. Let me give a precept as well. This book of Genesis, chapter 19, verse number 12. It's like 18, verse 19. It's lucky. It says, for I know him, that he will command his children in his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. And that's putting his household in order. And guess what? The Most High already knew that Abraham was going to command his children. That's setting your house in order, commanding your children to do right, commanding your children to keep the commandments, whether they do it or not. You can't force them into keeping the commandments. Only at a certain age can you do that, but when they become an age, you can't necessarily force them, or else they're not really serving the Most High in truth and sincerity, and it doesn't really matter for real. If we're not serving the Most High in truth and sincerity, if we're just being forced to do it, it's not really serving the Most High. The Most High really wants that that sincerity, right? Come with a pure heart, and not just serving the Lord just to serve the Lord. You know what I'm saying? We try to serve the Lord because we want to. You know what I'm saying? Not just because we have to, right? It says, that he would command his children and his household after him. And Abraham did that. He did just that. He commanded his children and his household to keep the way of the Lord. All right. Let me get this though. Let's get back to this. Look at Isaiah chapter 3, right? Isaiah chapter 3, verse 5. And it says, and the people shall be oppressed, every one by another, and every one by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, when a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. So I'm going to read verse 5 again. It says, and the people shall be oppressed. So we're going to be oppressed. We're being oppressed right now. But even in the days of Jacob's trouble, we're going to be oppressed as well, right? It says everyone by another and everyone by his neighbor. So you're going to be oppressed by your neighbors. You're going to be oppressed by the people that you thought were your friends. The people that you thought you was cool with, you're going to find out you're not really cool, because they want what you got. You might have food, they want that. You might have ammunition, they want that. You might have weapons, they want that, because they want to defend what's theirs. Every man is going to be for himself in that day. It says, and the people shall be oppressed, everyone by another, and everyone by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. So the child is going to behave himself proudly against the ancient, right? And the base against the honorable. And you have that going on even now. You have the children bucking up against the elders. You have base men, base things against the honorable in many, many cases. You know, we know that the Most High did choose the base things of the world to confound the wise. We know that according to the book of Psalms, chapter 8, verse 2, that out of the mouth of babes and sucklings has thou ordained strength, right? We know that. We know these precepts as well. But this is more so in a more evil sense. It says, the child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable. You have even people, young people, killing elders, beating up elders of our own nation. You know what I'm saying? And that's not right. That's not right. You know, they need to be knowing the way of the Lord. But I'm gonna keep reading. It says, when a man shall take hold of his father. Actually, I'm gonna get the precept on verse 5 real quick. All right, this is the book of Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24 and verse number 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. And we see that the love of many is waxing cold as we speak. Right? People are not, loving to each other like how they were before. That love is fading away because iniquity is increasing in the earth, and it's going to keep increasing until Yahweh comes back. Sadly, but we know that the grain of evil seed was implanted in the heart of Adam from the beginning. All right, that's 2 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 30. We see that that plant is growing and is growing and is growing and is growing. It's going to continue to grow until Yahweh comes back. It says what? Verse 6, when a man shall take hold of his brother of the house of his father, saying, thou hast clothing, be thou our ruler, and let this ruin be under thy hand. And that day shall he swear, saying, I will not be a healer, for my house is neither bread nor clothing. Make me not a ruler of the people. Because Israel always wants a ruler over them, right? So what this is basically essentially going into, on a certain level, we know that people that might have a lot of stuff, people that might have a lot of stuff in Jacob's trouble, like a lot of water, food, clothing, etc., whatever the case may be, things that you need to survive during those evil times, they're the ones that's going to be the leader over the people, because you're going to have different types of people in groups, because that's always what happens. People form alliances and people form groups during those evil types of times, right? We see that even within movies. Keep going. Verse 8, For Jerusalem is ruined and Judah is fallen, because their tongue and their doings are against the Lord to provoke the eyes of his glory. Yeah, like how the brother said, like the book of Eli. Then you're gonna have men, like exactly men forming their own alliances, you know, this and a third, and because you're gonna but you see that even in the book of Eli, they don't really have order like that. It's kind of just it's every man for himself, but at the same time, they're they're doing that together. You know what I'm saying? Like they're sharing certain things, but they still like, hey, you can't tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying? So it's still going to be out of order, man. It's still not going to be order in the earth, which is madness, right? It's madness. But people that have that clothing, people that have that shelter, hey, be thou ruler over us, you know, hey, come, and let's form an alliance to send a third. You want to have that. We even see that in the book of Second Ezra, right? Let me get that precept real quick. This book of Second Ezra, chapter Second Ezra chapter let's precept real quick. Second Ezra chapter 16. Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse number the precept we had read as well. Right. I'm gonna get this one. Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 46. For strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses, and take their children captives, for in captivity and famine shall they get children. And they that occupy their merchandise for robbery, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their possessions, and their own persons, the more will I be angry with them for their sins, saith the Lord. So yeah, you're gonna have people that join together. All right, you're gonna have people that join together to commit wickedness together, essentially. Commit wickedness together and just do whatever, man. Because there's not going to be any law enforcement. You know what? Because what's stopping people from killing each other, man? Literally, what's stopping somebody? Let's say you kind of just you got road rage. You know what I'm saying? You cut somebody off, and that dude's hella mad. He starts yelling at you, and then you kind of get out the car. And then you just guys get into a fight. What's stopping that guy from killing? What's stopping that guy from taking out his gun and start shooting you in the face because he's mad? And he's carnal. He's not in the truth. He doesn't care about the Most High and doesn't believe in that. What's stopping him? It's the law enforcement, right? It's the police. Because you know that when he does that, he's going to be jacked up. All right, he's going straight to jail. Well, it depends on who he is, of course, but that's why generally people don't commit such acts. All right, like murder, thievery, right, robbery, rape, right, basically things that's called felonies or felonies, right, violent felonies. And like how the brother said, that's gone. That's gonna pass in Chicago with that PERS law starting 2023 of January. Exactly, man. And that's gonna start. People are just not gonna care, man. They're not gonna care. You even see that when they had passed, I don't know if it was a national law, but basically that if you steal, right? Oh yeah, going to come to pass, Yeah, exactly, man. It's going to come to pass. Because the only thing that's stopping people from doing certain things is because they know that if they do it, they're going to go to jail, right? And they don't want to go to jail, so they don't do it. It's not because, well, the Lord said, Exodus chapter 20, verse 17, thou shalt not covet. So, or the Lord said in the book of Leviticus, right? A chapter, 18, verse number 10, the Lord said, thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Okay, so, I'm not going to. People in the world, they're not thinking like that, man. They're not thinking about the laws and the precepts and this and the third, like how men and women of the Lord are. That's what causes, that's what refrains. We refrain from doing certain things because we think about the precepts, man. We're not thinking about, whatever. But people, they that don't believe the Most High, they just think about law, the law enforcement, police. I don't want to be put in jail. I don't want to, you know, get this and the third. So when that's gone, when the police is gone, right? Guess what? People's gonna be like, hey, shoot, we can do what we want, man. Who's gonna stop us? Right? I can do what I want. That's how people's gonna act. Like children, man. As soon as the teacher, hey, the teacher in the room, everybody quiet. Nobody's talking, maybe a little whisper here and there. As soon as the teacher say, hey, I'm gonna be back, he leaves, closes the door. As soon as that door closed, all hell starts breaking loose. You got paper flying through the air, you got people jumping up and down on the desk. You have they're writing on the whiteboard, people messing with the computer, people on that set on this side of the room, now on that side of the room talking to their friends. You have people on their phones, people playing video games or whatever. They just wilding out while the teacher's gone, man. As soon as the teacher come back, now they want to get in order. Hey, that's how these people's gonna act, man. Hey, the law enforcement is gone. Shoot, hey, just like how that teacher, hey, the law for hey, we can do what the hell we want. Not knowing that the Most High is recording every single action, every single thought that they're doing, man. Hey, they don't like to retain the Most High in their thoughts, right? I'm gonna get that precept. This book of Romans, chapter 1. Right? This is a book of Romans, chapter 1, and verse number start at verse 20 Slovakia 20 Slovakia. Yeah, Con 28. It says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge. So a lot of people, they don't want to retain the Most High in their knowledge. They don't want to think about the Most High. They don't want to think about the precepts. Yeah, the Bible says it's not third, but right? Just throw it away completely. That's off. God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient, right? And a lot of people is going to do that which is not convenient, right? I'm gonna get this precept as well. It's a book of Second Ezra. Now knowing that the Most High is still recording everything that they're doing, and it's going to render unto every man according as his work. This is a book of Second Ezra, chapter 16 and verse number 61. He made man and put his heart in the midst of the body and gave him breath, life, and understanding. Yea, in the spirit of the Almighty God, which made all things, searcheth out all hidden things in the secrets of the earth. Surely he knoweth your inventions and what ye think in your hearts, even them that sin and would hide their sin. So the Lord surely knows our inventions and what we think in our hearts, even those that sin and would hide our sin. And a lot of people, they hide their sin, man. They just sweep it under the rug. They not, hey, the Most High, he didn't see that. Oh, that murder. And I'm almost not looking at that. Right? That's madness. Look at this precept. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 7, and verse number actually, I think it might be Malachi. Salakia. Might be Malachi. This book of Malachi, chapter 1. Lord have forsaken the earth. Let me get this precept. Right. It's the book of Salakia. Basically, our people say, oh yeah, Khan, Salakia. This is Ezekiel chapter 8 and verse 12. This is Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 12. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 12, and it reads, then say he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery. Exactly. And they always do it in the dark. All right. They do it in the dark all the time. Right. Yeah, Khan. All praise to the Most out the water. Yeah, Ezekiel 8 and 12. But it says, that's mad. It says, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? every man in the chambers of his imagery. For they say the Lord seeth us not, the Lord hath forsaken the earth. You see that? So our people say, hey, look, the Lord has forsaken the earth. Therefore, they're delivered to do all these abominations. Because the Lord, he forsake the earth. He's not here. And that's what people are going to be saying during Jacob's trouble. The Lord, look, where's the Lord at? He forsook the earth. You know, everything around us is dead. Everybody we know is dead. You know, we got no food. We got to literally, hey, strung it out for ourselves. The Lord, he forsook the earth. There is no God. You can have certain people, what we like to say, what I like to say through the Spirit is we're gonna have a lot of people in that day of Jacob's trouble. A lot of atheists you're gonna have a lot of atheists turn agnostic, and you have a lot of agnostics turn atheists. You know, and kind of like how the brother say, hey, that's off, man. You saying that the Lord forsook the earth. The Lord's never going to forsake the earth, man. The Lord's never going to, he might forsake you, you know, because you're wicked and you didn't put your trust in the Most High when you had that chance, and you ignored the brother Judah, and you ignored the prophets literally telling you what to do, and you ignored the messages. It's like the messages that the Most High sent to you. You left the Lord undelivered, and you left the Lord unread. You looked at the message and you didn't even respond back to him. Therefore, the Lord's treating you like that. But it says what? It says the Lord seeth us not. The Lord have forsaken the earth. So you really think that the Lord doesn't see what you're doing in the dark, man? You know, the Lord sees all of that. He literally sees it. That's why he brings every work into judgment with every secret thing. Like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes. He sees my sins. He sees all of our sins, man. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 14. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So the Lord is going to bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil, right? Even the things that we do in the dark. This book of Isaiah chapter 30 and it's like Isaiah 40 and verse 10. All right, this book of Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 10. Behold, the Lord God will come with strong hand, right? And his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. He shall feed his flock like a shepherd. He shall gather the lambs with his arm and carry them in his bosom, and he shall gently lead those that are with young. So the Lord is going to come with strong hand, and his arm shall rule over for him, Salaki. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him. His reward is with him, and his work is before him. His reward, you see that? So the Most High, he's coming with that reward. Whether it's good or evil, we have to determine that on a physical level, judging off of our works. Because the Most High is not an unjust God. He's a God of judgment. It's the book of Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. Right? It's the book of Isaiah chapter 30, verse 18. And therefore will the Lord wait that he may be gracious unto you, and he will be exalted that he may have mercy upon you. For the Lord is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. That's why it's good for us to put. That's why it's good for us to put our trust in the Most High, because He is a God of judgment. When you go into that word for judgment, it really means like justice. The Lord, He loves justice, right? Even when you go to the book of Leviticus, right? He loves just things, right? Equal. Being righteous, being long suffering. The Lord loves that. Right? This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 35. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment, in meat yard, in weight, or in measure, just balances, just weights, a just ephah, and a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe all my statutes and my commandments, and do them. I am the Lord. So we see here that the Lord, He loves just weights, just ephahs. He delights in things that's just and equal. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 1. False balance is abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. And the Most High, he's a just weight, right? He's a man of war, but he's also a man of peace. And he's the king of terrors, but he's also a very merciful God. So the Lord, he can play both roles. Yahweh Shah, he was austere, but Yahweh Shah was also loving and kind, you know, and affectionate to his people. So, and the Lord can play both roles. He's a just God. So knowing that, and I'm gonna get this precept as well, knowing that the Most High is going to judge you according to your works. He's not going to let you do all this work and then the Lord just damn slap you in the face and say, Psh, what you thought this was, you know? And now the Lord, he can use you for certain things. Like, for example, you might raise up a brother just to bring another brother into the truth and then take that man out the truth. And he could do that. I'm not saying, hey, the Most High is not limited to anything, but we see here that the Most High is still going to judge every man according to his works. And we even see that on the physical level. And on the physical level, right, you have people, they in the gym 24/7. They're in the gym 24/7. They're doing 100 push-ups. They're benching, they're working on the triceps, they're working on arms, shoulders, upper body, lower body, whatever. They're working out hella, right? They're dedicating their life to building up their body, eating right, doing everything right, sleeping right, etc. Right? So we see that the man that puts in hella work for something, the Most High eventually always gives it to him. He always gives it onto him. Like, for example, you running every day because you want to get a certain time in a certain race. So you work so hard to get it, and eventually one of those days you actually attain to it because you put so much work into it. And the Lord said, I'm gonna give every man according to his work. This is Psalm chapter 62 and verse 12. So we even see that on a physical level, right? Let's say your goal is to lose, you know, X amount of pounds. You want to lose like 50 pounds, you know. So the person that wants to lose 50 pounds, it's about how bad they want it because they can do it, but it's about how bad they want it. That means, they might have to fast, they might have to exercise more, cut down on certain things. It's a whole dedication. But eventually, if enough blood, enough sweat, enough tears is put into it, the Most High eventually gives it to him. We see that with all a lot, a lot of different things. If you want to be smart, you study so much, and you actually attain to it. If you want to be fast, you run and you work out, etc. You actually attain to it until the Most High gives it to you. This is Psalms chapter 62, verse number 11. God hath spoken once, twice have I heard this, that power belongeth unto God. Also unto thee, O Lord, belongeth mercy, for thou renderest to every man according to his work. So the Most High renders unto every man according to his work. So even if we see that on a physical level, hey, how much more on it's like on a spiritual level? The Most High has promised us, if you got ears to hear, in the book of Matthew chapter 20, a penny a day. He promised that penny unto his laborers in the vineyard. So at the end of the day, is he going to be like, look, I did promise you a penny, but actually I can't give you a penny right now. Might have to pay you next week. Now the Most High is not an Edomite, Most High is not an Edomite or anything like that, and the Most High is going to give that to you what He said He's going to give to you, right? And Most High willing, we can receive that reward. Really, when you fall out the truth, when we fall out, like if people fall out the truth on a physical level, it's really on them. We know that the Most High does all things, but we have to understand things on the physical level. Let's say you deliberately walk out into the street. You walk out into traffic deliberately, kind of saying, "Hey, I want you to walk out into the street." Let's say you walk out into the street in the highway. If you get hit by a car, that's on you, brother. Where did the Most High say to walk out into an open street? The Most High never said that. In fact, the Most High said to use wisdom and be not righteous over much. Now to make thyself over wise, why shouldst thou destroy thyself? Most High says use wisdom, right? So if you're walking out into the open street in a highway and you get hit by a car, are you going to blame that onto the Most High? Nah, because things are also on a physical level. So even when people fall out this truth, right? Most are willing, that's none of us. But even if people fall out the truth, basically most are like, look, that's on you, you know, because you didn't do what you didn't do what I commanded you, right? Even when you know what I'm saying? Hey, things is also on a physical level as much on the spiritual. We can't always blame the Most High for every single thing. Yeah, the Most High, He does all things. We understand that, but we can't just, oh man, you know, oh man, I feel, man, it's just the Lord. It's also on me too, right? Man, I forgot that precept. It's of the Lord. Yeah, it's of the Lord, but at the same time, I wasn't studying. You see that? So we understand that as well. We understand as well. But I bring that to say, going back to the main topic, just bringing back to the main topic. In Isaiah chapter 3, guess what? The Lord prophesies about famine. So in that case, we have to keep the commandments and let the Most High be our refuge so that we can be delivered from that famine. I'm gonna get a few more and close out. Spirit. This is a book of Psalms. I'm gonna go back to that chapter, Psalms chapter 91. This is a book of Psalms chapter 91, right? In fact, actually, Salaki. It's a good precept. But I'm gonna get this one. I'm gonna get Job. It's a book of Job, chapter 5. Book of Job, chapter 5, verse 19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death. So the Lord said, in famine he's gonna deliver you from death. Most are willing, that's us, right? And in war from the power of the sword. Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. So these are certain promises that the Most High promised to his people, to his elect. The Most High said, look, I'm going to deliver you from that famine. I'm going to deliver you from that. I'm going to give you food in the time when you need it. This book of Isaiah, chapter 65, verse number 13. Isaiah 65, verse 13. Therefore, thus said the Lord God, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So the Lord said, my servants are going to eat, but you're going to be hungry. Talking to those that don't serve the Lord. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed, man. Most I said, look, my servants are going to rejoice. They're going to eat, they're going to drink, but you guys, and you're going to be thirsty, hungry, and ashamed, man. Those that don't believe in the Most High and the Son Yahushua. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit, man. And I'm going to get this precept as well in the book of Mark, right? You get this precept in the book of Mark. Right. So let me get this precept real quick. Um yeah, Con. Oh, actually it's Matthew. So it's like in the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 32. Right, Matthew 15, verse 32. Our praises. It says, then Yahushua called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. And his disciples said unto him, whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness, as to fill so great a multitude? And Yahushua saith unto them, how many loaves have ye? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. And he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat, and were filled, and took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. And they did eat was for and they that did eat was 400 men. It's like 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent them away and took a ship and came into the coast of Magdala. So I pulled that precept because the Lord is not going to send us all fasting. the Most High, He's going to have compassion on us. It says, and in 3 days, and that's the number of completion. And Most High willing, Most High willing, it's going to be us. You may not, on a spiritual level, you may not have eaten 3 days. You know, if you take this scripture to be physical, it's like on a spiritual level, apply this to now. You know, you may be strung out. You know, economically, financially, you might be, you know, low on funds, et cetera, et cetera. You might be in a low state for 3 days through the Spirit. You know, on a spiritual level, that those 3 days is the number of completion. But the Lord said, "Look, I had compassion on the multitude because they now continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting lest they faint in the way." So the Most High has compassion and feeds us, man. And Most High willing, He's going to feed us, right, all the time, right? And because He's our shepherd, and the shepherd, they care for the sheep. They make sure that the sheep is getting fed. That's Psalm chapter 23, verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But if we're relying on other things to feed us, then how can the Most High feed us? We have to put our trust in the Most High God so that He can feed us, man. The spiritual wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the Lord said, "Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled." You know, on a spiritual level and on the physical level, the Most High is going to feed us, man. Right? The Lord said, "Verily thou shalt be fed and shalt dwell in the land." Close out this precept. This book of Psalms, chapter 37, right? Psalms 37 to verse 3. Trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. So the Lord said, trust in the Lord and do good, so shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Verily thou shalt be fed, man. That wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, right? On the spiritual level and on the physical level, hey, you're going to be fed, man. And Salaki, I know I was saying I want to close out with that, but one more, I believe. This book of Psalms, chapter 81 and verse number 15, right? I'm sorry, verse 13. So, Salaki, oh, that my people had hearkened unto me, and Israel had walked in my ways. I should soon have subdued their enemies and turned my hand against their adversaries. The haters of the Lord should have submitted themselves unto him, but their time should have endured forever. He should have fed them also with the fineness of the wheat, and with honey out of the rock should I have satisfied thee. The Lord said, hey, you're going to have the fineness of wheat, and with honey out of the rock are you going to be satisfied. And we know that that honey and that wheat is more so on the spiritual level. You see that? So come with that, all praises to Yahweh by Shema Malaki Abashah. The Lord, he's gonna feed us, man. Most High willing, through the Spirit at all times. Right? Become all praises to Yahweh Shema Abashah, the water for tuning in. A Kwam Yasha Allah, Yahweh Shema Abashah Barakathan to the 12. A Shalom.